You might know I'm a natural science journalist and published with National Geographic and the History Channel, the Great Salt Lake Collective. I've also spent a season as a tour boat captain on the lake. And so I've seen these conditions firsthand, and I hear what the experts are saying, and I have great respect for you and what you're doing. So some of this may come on, may not sound completely informed. And so I've been informed or in contact with members of your team, including Commissioner Steed. You already have these serious programs underway. And so you have water delivery, dust monitoring, cloud seeding, and the 2034 charter work. And so this proposal is designed to complement those efforts, not to compete, by adding sort of one small measurement layer that helps to interpret these results across all of them. And so the practical safe question is, I think, are we under measuring basin boundary conditions? Are we? I think a lot of people would say, yeah, we want more sites. We want to measure more. We want to measure more dust. Yes, we wish. So I think this is a safe question. And are we measuring conditions that influence evaporation, dust events, and precipitation efficiency? And so this pilot either shows that there is either no signal, and we can close the question responsibly, or it shows that that signal has become actionable, and it improves targeting, timing, and evaluation. So the value here is that we're turning this debate into objective data. Now, I know, like you, like anyone else, love a good science demo. So I have brought this balloon. I think you know where the balloon's going, what's going to happen here. Most people wouldn't start a presentation like this, but if you can see with my headphones, I'm proving a principle of physics here. There's electricity between this balloon now and my head. And if we think of this balloon as a basin like the Salt Lake Basin, we can understand some other scientific principles about basin-shaped things like this, and static. You know static. When you do your laundry, you're getting hit with about 15 kilovolts of static electricity. So that sounds huge, but the difference is it's the opposite really of lightning, because there's no amps, there's no juice behind it. And so that's as scientific as it's. I'm not going to get too crazy about anything like that. I think that we kind of all understand those principles. And so my question is that in a basin like the Great Salt Lake, with these unusual salts, with these dusts, industrial footprints, are there measurable near-surface electrical ionization conditions that correlate with the dust, mobilization, evaporation behavior, and, like I said, precipitation efficiency? So basins trap water and air, and we're asking whether measurable boundary conditions also matter. So what you're seeing here then is, yes, a Van de Graaff generator created by Robert Van de Graaff. This professor is demonstrating how it works. Basically, conveyor belt, I've given you a little diagram over there. Conveyor belt transports the little pluses up into the dome there, that IKEA bowl. Got a good deal on 2 IKEA bowls too. We both use the same design here, it looks like. And it takes those pluses, and what happens is they will continue to accumulate on that ball nothing will stop that from accumulating. It'll continue to accumulate until they discharge. Now the professor, what he's done is he's set probably styrofoam cups on his head, and they're lifting off of his head. Now in the middle there, I built my own one to better understand this principle. And after, really as a safety note, after just one successful test, I disassembled mine. High voltage does deserve respect, and so one test was enough. I like my hair where it is. I did the balloon thing instead. But that's the principle that Van de Graaff wanted to demonstrate, is that static will continue to build on that basin and in that atmosphere until it discharges with another basin, or it will go to ground. And it's a considerable amount of energy that even Tesla talked about. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But that's my goal today, is to share with you the expertise, not my expertise, but the expertise of the experts. And this man's expertise went on to create what's called the atom smasher. The atom smasher is this crazy looking machine here, a bigger version, that went on to become the Large Hadron Collider. The Large Hadron Collider being a pretty amazing, about as modern as physics gets these days, right? Well, some things are still Newtonian, and as far as we can talk about, Newton is the easiest, he said the easiest stuff, and he said it in a way that it was like universal. He said everywhere in the world, in the universe, it's going to be like this. But he said very few things, and his head, remember, was on the table here for this. Copernicus, people before him, didn't do so well. So his first law of motion says that motion changes only when a net external force acts on that system. Those balls don't move until a cue hits them, and they don't stop until something stops them, right? So the safe testable question for the lake is, if we've got solar energy driving an evaporation cycle, what measurable forces and conditions are changing that cycle's efficiency, especially at basin scale? So remember that inventor Nikola Tesla, he was the scientist who came with a promise of entirely different delivery and a medium for energy. He was famous. People loved him. He proved it in Colorado Springs. He said, in Colorado, I succeeded one day in precipitating a dense fog. He argued that high voltage and electrical discharges could influence atmospheric moisture, specifically by promoting condensation. He described unlimited precipitation in both public remarks and patent-style language. 800 acre-feet of water is nothing compared to his unlimited claims. So we're really looking for a lever to control that kind of water. If we were to all of a sudden be granted, nearly 1 million acre-feet of water, because the problem could reverse itself. And in my lifetime, I've seen what happens. It threatens I-80, the airport, and Lagoon. And we need to protect Dracula's castle. We got to keep that right around, right? But 4,200 feet is about that line. So we get that wish, then all of a sudden we have a problem with flooding going the other way. So we need to have a throttle. And a lot of times what we see, like in terms of China, they have taken control entirely of their precipitation cycle right there at the water, and they put solar panels right over their water. It cost them, $500 billion, trillions of dollars. We got lucky. We already have covered water. We've covered water in predictable places. But spending it right now is like cashing in on a retirement account. And I think you and I both agree that there are downsides for us to be cashing in our 401ks at 30 years old, or retirement, right? And underwater water, groundwater that isn't evaporating is beautiful. It's millions of years old sometimes under Park City. And we, right now, each one of those tunnels are doing somewhere around 30%. Spiro, Ontario tunnels. Anyway, that's a little off the track there. Sorry, guys. My question today is, can the Great Salt Lake Basin create near-surface electrical conditions that alter the dust and precipitation? That's all. Can we measure it? Can we control it? Experts have said that we can, is what's great. To better understand that, we see energy now at those focal points. Say, for example, fossils, or we see dugway geodes that are described as percolation over time. We see petrified wood in our focal points and basins. Lightning is not even really very well understood, let alone this ephemeral energy that is really, really hard to measure. Even 15 kilovolts is a really hard to measure that spark from your laundry. Nikola Tesla built and described a patent for precipitating moisture. Here it is. He says that I claim my invention, this method, is precipitating moisture, which consists of producing in the atmosphere electric discharge or oscillations of sufficient high potential to cause condensation of the aqueous vapor. That's rain. That's snow for the Olympics. It's a big promise, but we have made that promise. We've told the people that those lakes are going to be full, and so we need to back that up with science, or the answer to prayers, however you want to look at it. I really should just, I want to bring this home, and I want to say, look, here are the existing programs. You're looking at water delivery, dust monitoring, cloud seeding. We're looking how can we make those more effective, and I'm suggesting something like a pilot, 90 days, maybe a year, where we're looking at an electric field. We're looking at how that affects the air conductivity, the aerosols. And like I said, there's no signal that we can close this responsibly, which is hard because, we're, like I said, it's not me, it's the expert here. It's Nikola Tesla. It's Newton. It's Robert Van de Graaff. So if there is a signal, we will have an actionable lever to control both sides of our water, to be professional about how we're controlling water. We're not just leaving it up to the cycles. We're actually taking control of the precipitation cycle and owning it and making sure that we control it, mitigate it. And so an example I want to sort of leave you with, I just had my radon tested. It says it was very high. It's scary. It's scary now to think that I have this level that's above the red, that's in the red now, that we're just starting to measure. That there was a time when there was someone out there like me that was doing presentations and trying to say, this is something we should be looking at. And this is the same energy that I'm talking about. This is basin energy that comes from, stuff, the rocks and stuff that are out there that are just disintegrating. And this is the energy that comes off of them. And so radon's a great example because we don't argue about it. We measure it, we map it, we educate, we mitigate. Okay, that's it. So the takeaway isn't radon, it's the model. It's the measurement that turns uncertainty into action, speculation into objectivity. And that's what we're looking for. That's what I'm proposing. How would that look? What would that look like? Well, I think we would start with a feasibility study. We'd confirm the instruments, the co-locations, the budget, and the scope. Better understand the baseline of what we're looking for and use sort of the existing data to guide sensor placement, permanent or roving, and the evaluation of just the overall design. Like I said, it could be 90 days. It could be a year. It doesn't need to be. We're looking for that signal. If it's out there, it should make itself known pretty quickly, but it's hard to say. Those are, again, the voltages are just something that we aren't always ready to look at when it's accumulating on railroad tracks, when it's accumulating on fences, barbed fences, silos, places we just don't always expect until we find out it's too late. Like when they install giant antennas and they're connecting them, they have to be very careful about the static that can form on those things. So antennas and things like that. We're just starting to accept modern physics in our lives, like we do in GPS, but also in farming. And so I want to be able to make a recommendation that is scalable, that works, and is responsible. So, thank you.